penny. Now, my question to you is, can you win the midterms and pick up more seats because of all this?
Yeah, well, I have to agree with Julian. He's always really spot on and a good example that the Democrats should follow his lead. They're always obsessed with race, gender, class, and they've never been popular with policy, by the way, in the last decade or so. But they always win on process, and that's why I am very leery of the midterms for this reason. I started the Election Integrity Caucus after my odyssey in 2020, and President Trump also had an odyssey, and all the revelations you've been talking about on your show with, the way the Democrats undermine and manipulate everything, and then blame us for it. Projected on us, I should say. But I think we've got to pay attention to the process. But I do think if we do that and we focus on policies that are popular, which is why President Trump is so popular, and we see the stock market doing well, people getting back to work, and you see this, the crime going down and what Democrats don't seem to care about, and the fact that we have a Marxist, anti-Semitic, anti-police standard bearer running in the largest city in the United States, in New York, which is really critical. And that's why the Democrats don't know what to do about this Zoran Mamdani.
Yeah.
So I think we have an opportunity here, but we'll see if we can beat them on policy and process.
So, Rich Larry, it's an interesting point. You got Mamdani the commie running in New York. I guess he's coming back from his wedding in Uganda or whatever it was, his second honeymoon in Uganda. Not good enough to have New York City. You have this tariff story out there, which everybody talks about. And it turns out all the bad things haven't happened. And Trump, I know his critics, they'll probably never give him any credit. But when you look at these polls, people do give him some credit. In fact, on the economy, which will matter in the midterm elections, Trump's numbers are up to 47. He was down at 36. That's just a couple of months' move.
Yeah, that's really important. He's pulled back some of the Liberation Day, and then he cut these deals. And look, I'm not always a fan of Trump's methods, but you have to admit, they worked. He wouldn't have been able to get NATO to 5% commitments on defense spending. He wouldn't have been able to get this deal with the EU if he wasn't willing to play hardball and use all the leverage we had. And one of his key insights was realizing we had more leverage than any other American president realized before.
He's a pretty good negotiator. I mean, I think Democrats have always underestimated. Now, let me ask you. We look at these issues. We're obviously covering what I call Obamagate or Russiagate and so forth. Is that really going to matter next year? Is the Epstein thing going to really matter next year? What is going to matter next year?
It's the economy. This is why the biggest story this year was Liberation Day and what would happen with the tariffs and the deals and whether people would feel good about the economy. So nothing beats growth, and especially real income growth, real wage growth. That's the name of the game. And if he's in good shape there, I don't know whether Republicans are going to pick up seats in the House, but if they can at least minimize losses and not do this historic sort of washout they saw in 2018. And what's encouraging at this juncture, in 2018, the tide was so against Republicans. Trump was at 40%. The Democrats were gaining. Now there are more registered Republicans than Democrats in the country.
That's amazing to me.
As you were just discussing with
Julian,
the party's image, Democratic Party's image is in the toilet, and Trump's at 46% approval.
So, Julian, the stuff I hear from Democrats, keep spending, no cut, no Doge. They hated Doge. They don't like eligibility limits. Able-bodied men shouldn't work in order to get various Medicaid and food stamps. They like rent controls. They like New York City running grocery stores. I mean, where are the Democrats on the economy? Rich Lowry is right. Economy is going to matter a whole lot. I don't know where the Dems are.
If you walked outside the studio right now and you asked 10 people what the Democrats' plan was on the economy, they wouldn't be able to tell you what it was because the Democrats can't articulate what it is. So the Democrats don't have a plan. They're in the middle of a civil war right now. The progressives are ascendant. It's an asymmetrical civil war because progressives use social media to shame dissenters. So the Democrats are sort of frozen right now. They're unable to come up with anything other than abundance. Abundance is essentially a Republican idea of deregulation. I'm all for it, but it's not enough to sort of present a new vision for the party. And, I think Rich is right on the tariffs. It's not just an indictment of the news media that kept saying we were going to see all this surging inflation as a result. It's also a reflection of the Democrats' obstructionism. When you're just against everything, as the Democrats, anything Trump is for, the Democrats are against. When somebody pulls the rug out from under your feet and the inflation doesn't come, Democrats are left with nothing to talk about if they're just an obstructionist mentality. reality. And this is the problem. You go back to Clinton, right? 100,000 cops on the street,
Yes.
a bridge to the future.
Yes.
On welfare, to your point, Clinton was for 30 hours a week in the Medicaid. The Medicaid the Republicans proposed was 20 hours a work week, but Democrats call that fascism. This is the problem when you're just opposed and screaming at everything rather than trying to constructively build. Democrats don't have a plan to constructively build, and that's their problem.
Claudia, just in the last moments, you know what? There is another lesson here. All these Democrats swearing and cursing at Trump. You see it all the time, right? Dropping F-bombs and, other stuff, just attacking the guy. That has backfired enormously. There's a cultural backfire going on with, you know what? That is not the way Americans don't like that. Agree or disagree on a specific issue, cut taxes, raise taxes, but throwing F-bombs at your president on a daily basis with some of these. I just got 30 seconds, Claudia, but it seems to me that has failed miserably.
Yeah, I mean, the Trump derangement syndrome is something that people are getting tired of. They've tried everything and it failed, and he got to be president again, and he's doing well. He's doing even better than he did in the first term. We just got, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act plus, with in addition to all kinds of other great things in this bill that keeps getting cast as a tax and spend bill. It's a tax cut growth bill, and I think that they're going to find out. They're arguing about the CBO scores, but I think in the end, I think the positivity coming out of the president and his willingness to engage with everyone and anyone. I mean, just watch a press conference. Yep. He calls on every single journalist and asks them where they're from.
He's
He's got an incredible commentary, but he's incredibly open-minded, transparent, and positive.
He's a lover. The guy's a lover in his second term. It's fantastically. Actually, it's nothing but love. Love, love, love. Anyway, Claudia.